Hey folk, welcome back to the Rock Shop. In today's video I am hopefully going to try and dispel some of the confusion and some of the myths around keeping a Floyd Rose double locking type tremolo in tune. It's not hard, there's a few things you need to look out for, there's a few things you may need to replace, or one thing you might need to replace, but it's a really easy part to get a hold of. But yeah, hopefully this helps you out and your Floyd Rose stays in tune. So without any further ado, I'm going to flip the camera down, get some Skycam on the go, and I'm going to show you the guitar I have on the bench. It's got a Floyd on it. I'm going to show you what I do to help keep them in tune. So here we go. This here is the guitar in question. It is a 2020 Schecter Diamond Series. It's got a Floyd, a Sustainiac. It's lovely. I want to show you on this the places that I check to make sure that tuning stays constant. Now the first place, and kind of potentially for a lot of people the most unlikely place to look, is right here. These four bolts that hold the neck on. Now if you've got a Floyd on a Les Paul type guitar with a set neck, you don't need to worry about this step, but if you do have a bolt on neck, the first thing to do is just snug up these bolts. They may move, they may not, but making sure they're lovely and tight is the first thing that I do. The next thing I do is look at the nut. There are two things that usually go wrong up here. Now I'm going to take these pads off and I'm going to show you. So right. Now, on this, you probably can't see it because the screws are black and it's a black nut. However, it doesn't matter. There are two screws in the top of this thing that go through into the neck. On a lot of Ibanez type locking nuts, they come up from the back. Either or, it doesn't matter. They both work fine for this application anyway. What we're going to do is we're going to take a hex key. If they come up from the back, they're usually a hex key, or if they come down from the front, it's usually a Phillips head screw. We're going to take a Phillips screwdriver and we're going to just gently snug these up as well. There we go. That was a tiny little bit loose, a tiny little bit. However, what to remember is that you're taking all of this tension that's on the guitar, and then in a split second, you're releasing it all with the bar. And then you're putting it all back on again, right? So you're taking 150 or so pounds of tension, getting rid of it, putting it back, getting rid of it, and putting it back as many times as you go crazy with the bar. And then what's going to happen? Something's going to slip somewhere. So you want to make sure that these bolts here are tight, or these, in this case, they're screws. In Ibanez's, they're usually bolts. Doesn't matter. Make sure these are tight. Now, the most common problem with Floyd Rose type double locking systems, regardless of which one it is, going out of tune, has to do with these chaps here. Now, even if you're someone that only takes one or two strings off at a time and leaves everything else intact, or if you're someone that takes all the strings off at once, you want to make sure that these go back on in the same order and the same orientation that they come off in. What does that really mean? What it means is that this string here is thicker than this string here, and in the bottom of these things there's ever so slight grooves, tiny little grooves, but it's just enough that if you put the one from here on here, that's going to slip very slightly, and that's enough to completely throw off the tuning on a Floyd Rose system. So go get yourself a new set, go on eBay and search Floyd Rose string lock pads, Floyd Rose locking nut pads, locking nut for Floyd Rose, something like that. You will see either a nut, you can buy the whole assembly, or you can just buy the pads separately, right? Go buy a set. They're only like $3, $4, $5, some, really cheap. And then what you do is you take an engraving tool, either a Dremel, I use one of these little AA battery powered ones, and you put little notches in the end. So if you look at this guy, there's one little notch. On this guy, there are two little notches. And on this guy, there are three little notches. Now, it doesn't matter what you put on them, as long as you know what they mean. And in my case, I go 3, 2, 1. So there's number 3, there's number 2, and there's number 1. Right? So I know if I put these on 3, 2, 1 with the notches facing that way, they're going to go back on in the same place and the same orientation every single time. So let's just put these screws back in place. Now we're going to lock these in place. You don't want to go crazy with these. You're not trying to replace the head gasket on Grandpa's old Chevy. You just want to snug these down nice and tight. And then what I'll do is I'll just push the bar down, which you can't see. I'll just push the bar down once or twice, and I'll lock these again. Because sometimes that's just enough to make these jiggle a little bit loose, which has happened in this case. So jiggle it a little bit again. That's not moving. That's not moving. That's not moving. Okay, so this is now firmly locked down. What we're going to do is we're going to tune it up, and I'm going to see, has this worked? We're at pitch. Now we're going to dive the bar. Let's see. I'd call that pretty good. So, just by doing that, you're sorted. Replacing your string pads and making sure all the nuts and bolts that hold everything together is tight. You're laughing. Sometimes you do need to put a little bit of grease, lithium grease or silicone grease, on between the knife edge and the string post, or the post and the knife edge. Sometimes you need to put a little bit of grease on there, kind of work it in a little bit, but that's not the main culprit. The main culprit is usually the string lock pads and the back of the neck. So there you go. I hope this has helped. I hope this helps keep your Floyds in tune, and I hope this has also helped dispel some of the myths of Floyd Roses are terrible. So any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll try and answer as many of them as I can if you have any. And until next time, thanks for watching, guys.